Sure. My name is Rich Pauley, and I'm the fire chief in Wellfleet, Massachusetts, which is on Cape Cod.
What other tasks does the fire department take care of other than putting out fires?
Well, putting out fires is just a small proportion of what we do. It's very important. But here in this department, and probably about 70% of all the fire departments around the country, we also do what we call emergency medical services, which is running an ambulance service. So we have full-time firefighter paramedics here on duty 24 hours a day. And a large part of what we do is providing paramedic ambulance service to the residents of Wellfleet and surrounding towns of Cape Cod, and make sure that we can get them to the hospital as quickly as possible and as safely as possible. We respond to a lot of motor vehicle crashes, particularly this time of year in the summer when the population increases exponentially. And we do all other types of fire suppression, forest fires, brush fires. We do fire inspections. We do plan review. We do public education in schools. We do water rescue. So we do a lot of things here.
What is the definition of a false alarm?
A false alarm is basically when someone calls for the fire department, either by 911 or an alarm system goes off. And when we get there, there is no fire, there is no emergency. Now, false alarms can be accidental. Sometimes if you're cooking at home, the smoke detector goes off, and that trips the alarm system, that's an accidental false alarm. Sometimes, unfortunately, false alarms can be intentional, where someone calls 911 thinking that it's a funny thing or a joke, and they report a situation that's not true, or someone pulls a fire alarm pull box or pull station when there's no fire and they really don't need the fire department to respond. So false alarms can be accidental or they can be intentional.
What happens when you have multiple calls at once, and how do you deal with it?
That's a very good question, Chris, because we have a very small full-time force here, like a lot of departments do. So basically when we have a call, the first call that we come in, it doesn't matter if it's a fire call or an ambulance call, that ties up the on-duty crew. And then we have to hit a tone, we call it a tone, for any available personnel to come back to staff the station. That could be full-time people or it could be call people. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of people that come back because they have other obligations. They're either out of town, they may be in school, they may be on vacation, they may be working a second job. So it's very, very difficult to get that, what we say, that callback group back of people. So when we have multiple calls, there are times that we can't go to the second call immediately, and if we can't, then we have to call what we call mutual aid. So it would be either Truro or Eastham, the two neighbors communities that would respond to help us, either with an ambulance or with an engine company.
How often does it happen that you guys are caught in between like you have to deal with two things at once? How often does that happen?
That actually happens quite a bit, and as a matter of fact, it happened regularly this past Saturday, which was just before the July 4th weekend. We ended up responding to 26 calls in a 24-hour period, and part of that, we had 3 calls going at once. We had two medical aid calls going, and we had a motor vehicle crash. So at that point, there were only about 8 of us available, so we ended up having to split the crew up, which is very, very common that we would call split the crew and just go to the call that you need to go to. So again, this time of year, particularly in resort areas like on Cape Cod, the possibility or the reality of us getting multiple calls is very, very frequent.
So what is the punishment for a false alarm in Massachusetts?
Well, the punishment for a false alarm in Massachusetts is that it is we call a misdemeanor, and the fine could be up to $5,000, depending upon the seriousness. In addition to that, oftentimes we go for what we call restitution, which means if someone calls a false alarm in and the fire department has to expend so much money, or the town has to expend so much money to respond to it, the person that found guilty would also reimburse the town or the fire department for those expenses.
Is there anything else you'd like to add or let me know?
First of all, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate your questions. They were well thought out, and you know, we want everyone to know that whether you're in Wellfleet, Massachusetts, or anywhere else, that if you have a problem, or you have a need, the fire department will always try to help you. And that goes for folks of all ages.